So, welcome to today's video on Fenry Technologies website development class. So, today this is going to be the first video, and this is a video that's going to be talking about the overview of the web development. Overview of web development. So, this video we are going to be explaining some overviews of web development, which comprises of types of web development and understanding how the internet works. So that's going to be what this video is going to talk about. So let's start by explaining what web development is, and gradually we move. So the first thing we'll be explaining is what is web development. So web development can be defined as a process of building and maintaining websites, web applications, and run online on a browser. Okay, let me explain better. So when we're talking about web development, we are talking about a process whereby there is a web applications that requires an internet connection to work and runs on our browser. We are all familiar with Chrome, Opera Mini, Firefox, and lots more. Those are browsers in which websites are run. So an example of a website is going to be something like this. Let's say, let's look for what should we look for? 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 Agree gain. This is an example of a website. This is an example of a website. This is an example of a website. And this is a website. So this is an example of a website. Then this, I don't know if you're all familiar with Jumia. You're all familiar with Jumia. We're all familiar with yeah, this is a website. Are familiar with different type of website, there are different type of websites, and they have different functions. But the reason why they are called websites is because they run on the web. If you remember vividly in our elementary schools, they said there is software, there is application software and system software. So web development is under an application software. But under application software, we have the web and we have the app. So the web is when we are talking about website, which is website development. That's the process of building a web. While the app is application development. That's the process of building an application. So under web development, I hope you understand what web development is now. So under web development, we have two major types, which include the front end and the back end. Now, if you look at this website that I showed you earlier on, which is going to be the one we'll be using for this. So this is a website. This is a website. If you can see it, and the front here that you can see, you can touch, you can do stuff on it. That is the front end. This beauty you are seeing, when I click it over, look at you see that I click on it. There is a different in the one I did not click on, the one I click on. That is front end. The fact that these are on the same line and this is not like this, is not this one, the picture did not come first before the letters, and the letters came first here before the video, before the picture. So which talks about arrangement and structuring. We can call structuring arrangements too. So we have structuring, styling, and functionality. That is front end. So going back to our notes, we say front end development is a part of web development that deals with everything users see and can interact with on their web browser. So as I said earlier, The fact that I can move this, I move this on this, it moves. I move this on it, it moves. I move this on it, it moves. I move this on it, it moves. Which makes me be able to interact with this thing easily. It makes it a it makes it a front-end development. But the fact that once I register on this website and I try to log in again, it pops out my details without me registering again. That's the work of backend. And the fact that if I am not logged in, I can't just suddenly access some certain features here. Those are that's the work of backend. And the fact that a lot of people can be on this website at the same time and everybody be running different things. You will not see what the other person is doing, and you will not be able to have access to what other person is doing. That's the work of backend development. So that's the difference between the front end and the back end majorly. So front end is a part that deals with everything the user can see and interact with. Why backend? Why the backend talks about a part of the website that does not see, that you cannot see, but provide data service and functionality. Now, example of front-end development, we have types. So we have HTML, which is the hypertext markup language. We'll be working on that. CSS, cascading style sheet, JavaScript. So the HTML is a standard markup language that is used to create and structure a web page. Now, this talking about structuring a web page. So there is something we used to do here. We inspect. So I want to okay, let's use this place as an example. So if you look at this, this looks like nonsense, but this everything here is the one that makes up this beauty. So the fact that I put my logo here, I put my home here, my farm here, my product here, my service here, and in here looks like nonsense, but it's arranged here. It means I structured it well. This is a structuring. The ability for me to put this here and not here. I put this here, not here, put this here, not here, put this here and not in this place is structuring. And that is just the simple definition of structuring. And when we're talking about CSS, cascading style sheet, is a style sheet language used for describing the look and formatting of a document written in HTML. Describing the look, when they say he is a boy, that's a structure. What structure portrays that is a boy? Is a boy. The structure portrays that is a boy. Why? If you say he is a tall, light skinned boy, a tall, light skinned boy, that is describing him. That's what CSS do. It gives you more description. It beautifies. Let's use it that way. It beautifies the web page. That's CSS. It describes the look and beautifies it. That's why they use the word. That's why we use the word formatting here. We arrange, we format. Then JavaScript is one that enables interactive web page, an essential part of the web applications. Take a look at this. If you notice that I am on here now, but once I click here, it goes somewhere else. Once I click here, it goes somewhere else, and once I click here, it goes back to where we came from. This is telling you that there is a functionality, a function that once I click here, it performs an action. Function performs an action. Click here, it performs an action. Clicks here, performs an action. That is basically what JavaScript is all about for functionality. Now, moving on, we have backend development. So this involves everything that happens behind the scene. I've explained that earlier. How it means whatever it is you cannot see, but the function is working. That is the work of backend. The server, the database, the API, those are backend. So backend, yeah, here it says server. That's a system that provides data, service, or functionality to the program. While the database is a system that stores and retrieves the data. The server provides data services and functionality, while the database stores and retrieves the data. So we have common database like MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, and Firebase too is also a type of database and is common, but we did not write it here because it's it's not fully for it's not only majorly based on for database. So we have API, that's application programming interface. So is a set of rules that allows different part of a software development to communicate with each other, such as retrieving data from full stack development. Now I will explain something. Take for example, we are told to register we are told to register the name of our state. Now, we have how many states in Nigeria? We have 36 states in Nigeria and over 100 local governments. As a web developer, API is used to get those informations from any country. I might be in Nigeria and want to use some state and local government from the United Kingdom, for example now. I don't need to start Google searching the list of all the states and start writing one after the other. All I just need to do is to just contact an API, find an API that has them in store already. Then I fetch them directly. It makes work easier. That's what API does. So as it says here, it's a set of rules that allows different part of a software to communicate. So I communicated with that website that has already stored that state with him. Then I retrieve those states without having to write my own from the beginning. That's simple definition of API. So a full stack developer is someone that handles front end and back end development. That means you must know both all these three: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And as a backend, you must know everything about server, database, and API. Then you are a full stack developer. Understanding the web. That's our next topic now. So if you have any question after this video, you can drop your questions. So understanding the web, how the internet works. To understand the web development, it is essential to know how the internet and the web works. Internet basics. Definition: the internet, a global network of interconnected computers that communicate through a standardized set of protocols. These are English. I will explain the full meaning, but let's just finish reading it. It allows data sharing, access to information, IP address. So when they say something is an internet, is a global network of interconnected computers that communicate through a standardized set of protocol. Too much English. Breaking down internet is: when you go to Chrome, for example, I want to look for how to cook rice. Once I search that how to cook rice, it gives out everything I need to know about how to cook what? How to cook rice. That means there have been another computer somewhere that has written down how to cook rice. Then I communicate through one type of medium to get access to all those things. I want to Google search where to get the best attire in Nigeria. I will Google search. Then there is something that houses every of those things. The ability for you to put things somewhere, somebody needs it, gets it, get access to the information there, can share it, can use it to create his own and put the same thing somewhere. There is something that interconnects everything. That's what we call the internet. I hope you are getting me. So the IP address now, that's the second thing, that's internet protocol address, is a unique string of numbers that is separated by periods that identify each computer using an internet protocol to communicate over a domain name. Now let me explain this. So IP address. Now we said something about internet the other time. They said an interconnected computers. I have my computer, I post something to somewhere. Somebody have his own, post something somewhere too. There's a way for them to trace back that this is where this came from. And that's what IP address is used for. An IP address, Internet Protocol Address, that is where I sent something from, where I am getting access to that information, a place with the place I am to get access to the information, what I am using to get access to an information or to share an information. That is an IP address. Now, domain name is an human readable address. Like www.google.com is a domain name, www.jumia.com is a domain name. They are all to map an IP address. Now, IP address is set of number. Let me show you what an IP address is. So if I say something like 192 point, if you take a look at all this shit, this is an address, an IP address. This is an IP address. So this gives me access to my computer. This can grant you some can get you location to where I am and stuff. But that number one is dangerous. Number two is not easy to remember. So they come up with something called a domain name, that is a unique name that that covers that IP address. That instead of you to see the IP address physically, so that you will not see it, there will be a name that they'll give it, like the way we bear name. Now, instead of me putting a banner in my chest that okay, I'm from so 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 state, I'm from so so state, I'm studying so 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 this. I have a name. My name is John. That's what domain name is for. So instead of me sharing some of my details and everything, all you just need is my name to get to just say, okay, this is I'm looking for John. They will know that okay, this is John. But if I say I'm looking for a tall guy that goes to so studying so, nobody will know. They'll be like, ah, that's quite difficult for us to know. You have to like start looking for it, bro, bro, bro. But if we say John, oh, they get it. So that's the work of domain names. Now, web browser. I think in the beginning of this, I have explained what web browser is. Chrome is a web browser. That is a place where I can look for a domain name, look for an IP address, show what I developed as a web developer. That's just the place. Just like a platform to showcase. As a university is a platform for us to be able to gain knowledge. That's the way a web browser, as a university connects a lecturer with a student. That's the university. A browser connects the internet to the user. That's a browser. An intermediary between the internet and the user. That's a web browser. I hope you are understanding me. So which means instead of me going through a lot of stress to get information from somebody, there's an intermediary that do us that houses both me and the person that I want to get information from. So that's what a web browser is basically. So moving on, we have Chrome, we have Firefox, we have Safari. That's for an iOS user that allows user to access and interact with website. Browser requests web page from servers, renders them to the user. Then HTTP, HTTPS, that's Hypertext Transfer Protocol. They are used for transferring data over the web. These are not necessary, but we just need to just understand some definitions of it. HTTP is for exchange of data, while HTTPS is a secure version of what? Of HTTP. Now, as I said something about IP address, IP address has something that makes it secure, domain name. Then HTTP is like the naked version to like an IP address. IP address is naked, HTTP is naked, while the domain name houses the IP address, but HTTPS houses the HTTP. So now DNS, that's domain name system. This acts like an address book for the internet. When you type a domain to your browser, DNS server converts the domain into an IP address that the browser can use to access the information. Just a cycle. Everything is still cycling around this. The DNS connects to the IP address. The DNS is just like an address book, just like the contact on your phone. You have it just houses all the what? All the contacts you have, but you give it a unique name so that you can remember that okay, this is so 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 person number. The number there is the IP address. For example, the number there is the IP address, while the name you used to store that number so that you can remember instead of cramming the whole 11 digits of the number is the domain name. And the DNS, that's the domain name system, is the address book that your contact app. That's just the simple it. So when a user types a URL into a browser, the browser sends an HTTP request to the server asking for the page. The server processes the request, retrieves the information, the necessary files, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and sends an HTTP response back to the what? To the browser. Just a simple cycle. When you type the URL, that's www.example.com, then it goes into that what? Into that server. And inside that server is where the address book is. So inside the address book, it looks for that name. Then once it finds it, sends it back to the browser. And now that's where web development comes in. Now, once it sends it back as this. As this. This is what it sends back. That's why when I wanted to Google search the other time, I clicked on view page source. This is what it sends back as. But due to the JavaScript, the CSS and the HTML that I have used to do to style this, to make this more beautiful like this, that's the reason why it comes out to be like this. So if you judge a book by its cover, that's what it means. This is if you judge this thing is beautiful, you have judged it by this that you see. Or when you come here, you see the inside, and wow. So this is what turns into this. So that's just the basic thing of how the internet works. So that will be the end of today's video. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below this video. See you in the next class. The next class will be taking another topic, and that's going to be talking about some other parts of introduction to web development, and that's setting up web development environment. Setting up development environment. That's going to be our next topic. So see you in the next video. Thank you.